Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert. I'm the host of the Business Awards show, and I'm also the founder of the Best SME Awards and the Best Business Women Awards. And today I'm delighted to welcome Pete Rhodes, founder of All for Good. After almost 20 years working in the sports industry, Pete founded All for Good with a simple but powerful mission to use the power of sport, sponsorship, and events to make a genuine difference. Since 2005, he and his team have worked alongside sporting personalities, charities, corporate partners, and governing bodies to create events and partnerships that not only deliver exceptional experiences but also generate lasting social impact. And together, they've helped raise more than £10 million through sponsorship and fundraising for good causes. Pete believes that businesses can be a force for good. His work is built on bringing the right people together, creating meaningful partnerships, and ensuring that every event has a purpose beyond the day itself. Whether it's supporting charities, connecting organisations, or developing sponsorship opportunities that benefit everyone involved, his passion is making a positive difference. In 2020, he launched Meet for Good, a networking organisation formulating part of his strategy for All for Good. And that won the Gold Award for Best Networking Group at the Best SME Awards this year in 2026. So we're going to be talking all about his networking organisation and all about All for Good and about how businesses can create meaningful partnerships and why purpose has become such an important part of modern business. And he's also going to share what makes successful sponsorship and how giving back can strengthen not only communities, but also brands and businesses. So if you've ever wondered how doing good and doing business can go hand in hand, this conversation means you're going to take away plenty of inspiration. So welcome, Pete.
Good afternoon. That's a lengthy but lovely introduction. Thanks very much.
Yeah, because I think what you're doing is quite unique, wouldn't you say?
Um, yeah, we'd like to think so. I mean, I think we were kind of ahead of the curve. I'd certainly like to think we were ahead of the curve back in 2005 when I first registered All for Good as a company. But that came from my background in sport, and I think I was at the time I was at a youth sport charity, a fairly new youth sport charity, and it was clear to me that sport should be doing more, sports personalities should be doing more, and as part of that process, sports sponsors could and should be doing more. And that was the trigger. That was the light bulb moment that said, okay, well, how do we bring all of those parties together to genuinely shift the dial?
And how did you do it though? Because it's quite, as I said, I think it's very unique and it's quite a challenge to do that.
Yeah, it was. But I mean, it was a challenging environment anyway.
Mm,
I mean, if you know the sports sponsorship market, I mean,
mm,
the big rights holders, so the World Cup's on at the moment, the Olympic
hmm
Games, Premier League, whatever it is, they cornered the market quite rightly
mm,
across the whole suite of marketing opportunities and social media platforms and everything else that there are now. There's not much room for everybody else.
mm,
Which means two things. One, if you're not careful, the smaller and medium operations, if you like, and events and rights holders either get squeezed completely,
mm,
or you go back to the top table and encourage those who have all the rights to do more with them and to do perhaps
mm,
to do better things with them. But it's always been a challenge, and I was at the Youth Sport Trust when it pretty much when it founded back in 1996.
mm,
I was employee number 9, I think, at the time, and that was starting from ground zero. I mean, there was very little going on in school sport at the time. Certainly, very little going on in community sport at the time for young people. And the Youth Sport Trust was set up to do that. And I came in with a brief to look at sponsorship and fundraising events. Again, to try and do things a little bit differently in the school sport space. But that's tough. I mean, it's
mm,
a really challenging environment. We had no track record. There was very little that we could say we had done, and lots of it we could say we wanted to do. and it was a leap of faith for a lot of sponsors to come into that area of work. And so that was my proving ground, if you like, in that space. I'd done other things before that in terms of major events, but at the sharp end, if you like, of really trying to generate income for a cause, that was my proving ground. And yeah, that's where my mind was going. So when I left the Youth Sport Trust in 2003, the intention was to set up the Youth Sport Trust. Sorry, the All for Good then on the back of all the work I've been doing with the Youth Sport Trust. But got a call from the Olympic team to go and do some work in the build up to the Athens Olympics, and
Oh, wow.
that was too good an opportunity to turn down.
Yeah.
So I went there for what was essentially a year's contract, and that became
Hmm.
5 years, and I stayed until the Beijing Games.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
but in between times, we set up All for Good legally,
Hmm.
and I started work with the approval, if you like, of Team GB at the time. Started to sow the seeds of what All for Good was going to be. So,
So, for the benefit of our listeners, give us some examples of some of the projects that you have worked on with All for Good so that they can understand what it is that you actually do.
where do we start? I mean, I think there was three when we started, and it's very different now because the market has changed, I've changed, and the way that sports sponsors and sports bodies act has changed.
Mm,
But when I set up All for Good way back when, there was three pillars, if you like, in terms of the way that I wanted to work. One was events for good, one was another one was sponsorship for good, and then there was good consulting. So good consulting paid my mortgage. That was when, me charging myself out to try and help other people shape what they were doing.
mm,
And then events for good and sponsorship for good was me going out there trying to work primarily with charities and other good causes
mm,
to find ways of using sport as a platform. So
hmm
whether it was organizing golf days for startup charities, whether it was organizing dinners and award ceremonies and whatever else it might have been, it was how do we get things moving in the first instance? Yes, to pay my bills, but at the same time to start to make a difference on the ground. So and some charities we've been working with for a long time. Well Child is a children's charity based down in Cheltenham. We've been
hmm
organising golf events for them, for example, and been involved in their business development for probably 17 years now. And it's finding the niche, finding the appetite, and working with those kind of people to understand what they need,
mm,
and how we can help them put programs together. But at the same time, we're working with some governing bodies of sport, some sponsors that wanted to do things a little bit differently.
mm,
Um, and as I say, we're not pulling up trees, we're not changing the world, but we're changing lives, if you like. I mean, I've got
mm,
this spectrum in my mind of the work that we can or collectively can do. We can either improve lives, we can change lives, and we can save lives. And somewhere in that spectrum, the work fits somewhere. And every project is different. We worked with Puma and Yaya Toure, the former professional footballer, with a football charity based here in the UK, on a sports leadership program in the Ivory Coast. I mean, those kind of projects don't come about every day, but I mean, it's the kind of thing which, when you stumble across it, you grab with both hands and see what you can do to make a difference.
So you're contacted by charities and they presumably employ your services to deliver an event or a project, or you might connect up a brand with a particular, sponsorship
Yeah,
opportunity. Yeah.
yeah, exactly that. I mean, it's interesting because only last Thursday, and we were talking it before about the heat and everything else last Thursday, but I organised the Team GB Foundation, so British Olympic Teams Foundation.
Hmm.
Their golf day was last Thursday, and when I'd worked at Team GB, I'd set up a golf project then, and we had fundraising golf events every year. And for whatever reason, either side of London 2012 and the way that everything changed around London 2012, the
Mm.
golf day stopped. But 16 years on, we delivered it again for them last Thursday. The foundation is now up and running in a fantastic way through through Team GB.
Mm.
And again, it's just joining the dots. So we had 25 British Olympians there playing alongside corporate guests. Coots, the bank, sponsored it, and that was through NatWest, who they're part of the NatWest group, and NatWest are an official commercial partner of Team GB. Coots wanted to do something a bit differently to leverage those rights and activate those rights, and that was through a golf day which has purpose, has social impacts. All the funds raised are going through to the work in the foundation in schools and communities across the country, using the Olympic spirit as a way of motivating young people to stay healthy and happy and use sport as their social tool. So it's just a brilliant day of bringing people together, having a bit of fun, and raising some decent money to further the cause.
Mm. And what's your favourite sport? What's the things
Well,
that you like to play or watch?
cricket's my sport. Well, it
Okay.
was till a couple of years ago when my eyes went and my shoulders went and all the rest of it. But no, cricket's my first love,
Mm.
and that of my boys as well. Boys, a lot of my boys play. So it's but I mean, golf is the perfect
Mm.
platform. Still is. Yes, I know it's can still be a little bit white, middle-aged man dominated, but things are changing, and you can have some great fun, particularly with fundraising on a golf
Mm.
course. So long may it continue.
Because it's such a sociable sport, isn't it, golf? You know, because you can chat while you're
Well,
walking around the
I mean that
course.
that you've hit the nail on the head because we did a lot of research going back when we had the Olympic days before, because we had a sponsor who supported them for 5 years, and they worked out. And forgive me, I can't remember the exact numbers, but through the different days, they worked out they had something like 2,500 hours of direct contact time with their key customers.
Yeah.
I mean, with the best will in the world, Debbie, if you phoned up your biggest client and said, "Can I have a 9 hour meeting, please?"
It's not
It's
gonna
not
happen.
going to happen.
No.
But if you invite them to a golf day, in this case, to play alongside an Olympian,
Yeah.
they come and have breakfast with you, have a couple of cups of coffee, then go out and play golf for 5 hours, and then come back and have a barbecue. And all that time, and it comes back
Mhm.
to networking, doesn't it? And the way that you
Mm.
can do things differently in that sense. That building of partnerships and deepening conversations and genuinely building a relationship that lasts beyond a specific meeting. That can be done in so many different ways, and golf still works. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, completely agree. I mean, I've organised many golf days for charities over the years and rarely had a problem filling them. Rarely.
Yeah,
Because I think, you know, people do value. They value that time away from the office, that casual kind of being able to, you know, just getting rid of the suit, isn't it, for a day and just in your casuals, walking around a golf course, out in the fresh air. It's a great environment, I think, for business. I
yeah.
really do. I really do. Um, so let's talk about your networking group that you set up back in 2020, Meet for Good. So I love the fact that all of your little brands within your company have got the word good in them. So tell us about Meet for Good. What was the idea behind that and how has that evolved?
Again, it's one of those weird, not quite a sliding doors moment, but I'd never gone to meet any networking events or meeting events like that. It just didn't float my boat. I'd never really been in an environment where I was either chasing business or wanted to be chased in that way. Um, and a colleague of mine, Paul, who was at the event,
Mhm.
who'd worked with me at the Youth Sport Trust, and we'd gone our separate ways in a professional sense, but we'd stayed really good friends. He was working for another charity and phoned me up and said, "Pete, you'll know, I want to go to a networking event, but I kind of want it to be sporty. I want it to be in the sports industry, which is the best one." And I just said, "No idea. Haven't got a clue. Don't go to them. Don't think I ever will. It's not my bag." And we both kind of sat there and thought, "Oh, maybe there's something to do
Mm,
here." Because we both kind of got a sporting background in terms of our work. And so, and it's not rocket science to know that sport in particular, but more broadly, high performance
mm,
has huge value for business.
mm,
The speaker circuit is awash with
mm,
people who've achieved great things in sport and high performance. And so we set about to create Meet for Good with very much good intent. I mean, there's a charitable element to it as well. We donate a certain amount of our proceeds to charity every year. We open up membership to charities in a discounted way so that they can get the benefits of the network. And we work hard with all of our speakers to get them to buy into the vision of what we're trying to do. So we're not the greatest payers in the world for any of our speakers. We have a simple rack rate that just says everyone else has done it for this. We'd like you to do the same, please. And it works because of the audience that we've managed to create and the spin-offs, which I'll come on to in a minute, in terms of them and the value that they can bring to a room as powerful speakers. But we've got high performance, sport, business, and charity. And that's the four strands of Meet for Good. So we're trying to bring all of those people together all of the time. We do 6 events a year, 3 as business breakfasts and 3 as evening events. And we did the research. We went out to Chambers of Commerce events. We went to BNI. We went to others and tried to work out what we knew we didn't want it to be, and then put our own stamp on it. And we bring a guest speaker into every event, and we try to target key themes that we know are either current or relevant to business. So it might be leadership, it might be communication, it might be mental health in the workplace, it might be leading a high-performing team. Whatever it is, we've tried to shape the content to suit the themes that we know business are struggling with or trying to tackle in their own way. And it's flown. It's gone really, really well. I mean, we started 6 weeks before the first lockdown in COVID, which was a bit unlucky. And so we did one event, a launch event, and had generated a lot of interest, and then had to go back to everyone and say, trust us, we'll be back, but we just can't do it now. And we've just, a couple of weeks ago, we did event number 30. And we've kind of kept it and try to limit it to, one, retain a certain amount of intimacy and exclusivity. We don't want to go too big and just feel like it's another networking group or another conference or another speaker. So we've got us in the Midlands here now. We've got about 55, 56 members and or partners. And that means that we get about 100 for breakfasts, and then evening events are a little bit down, just simply because of the timings that we do them, but the same kind of content, but in a far more informal setting. Normally get sort of 80 to 85 for the evenings, and that's perfect for us. It's great. You can have some great interaction between everybody that's there, and you don't get that sense of just rocking up to another mass event where you don't really feel up close and personal with anybody or anything. And the way we have it now, everyone can meet the speaker, everyone can catch up with who they need to, and it's just great fun. Love it. I mean, we've had some amazing people come through, and sometimes it's the people you've never previously heard of who add so much value. I mean, we've had Olympic champions, we've had Premier League referees, we've had people who can talk about some fantastic achievement either on or off the pitch. But we also had a lady called Nikki Perfect, who was chief hostage and crisis negotiator for Scotland Yard. And she came and talked about communication skills and having difficult conversations, which, as you can imagine, for anybody in the room who either runs their own business or manages people, I mean, some amazing nuggets in there from her. We've had James Kerr, the Kiwi, who wrote the book Legacy, on the basis of all the All Blacks culture, all the stuff about sweep the sheds and, pardon my language, but no dickheads, and all that kind of stuff that is brilliant and held up there as being world leading. And again, so much stuff that can translate into day-to-day business. Recently, we just had two back-to-back events on the basis of how to be the best teammate. And we took one guy from sport, Luther Burrell, who left rugby union recently under a bit of a cloud with as a victim of racism and exclusion. And then 2 weeks later, we had Garth Miller, ex-Special Forces, just broke the speed record for the summiting of Everest, and he's now a commercial airline captain. So three different elements to his life where team is everything and trust is everything. And so that's the kind of theme we try and create and follow. And it's just really good fun. And we're just we feel good about the way that we do it. The membership keeps coming back. The partners are staying with us. I'm now talking about Manchester and London as different prospects for taking it on the road a little bit. Just got to understand exactly how the markets work in different cities, because we're comfortable here, and that's not meant to sound like we're resting on our laurels, but we know the Midlands. The membership has evolved and grown. We haven't had to do any hard sell. I imagine if we went to London, it would be from a standing start, it would be a different challenge altogether. But it's just really good fun work, and long may it continue.
And whereabouts in the Midlands do you meet?
We're in the East Midlands basically, so we're sort of Derby, Nottingham as the focus, and that's literally because that's where Paul and I are based. And when we set up, we had three founding partners who backed us before we'd even done an event, sort of backed the vision, and they've stayed with us, so we're still here. Yeah, I mean, we'd like to go further afield. The membership goes just about as far north as Sheffield and as far south as kind of Sutton Coldfield, Birmingham.
Yeah, so people are travelling from quite
People
a
are
way
travelling
into your meetings.
But again, we limit it to 6 events a year. I mean, I think
Yeah,
if you want, you could go to a networking event every week if you wanted to.
yeah,
But
I know. Every day, every hour.
you've got to question the value of it. But I mean, everybody finds different things from them. But we love what we do. We've been fortunate to work with some amazing people who've given their time and their expertise and their knowledge freely, really, to really try and help local business, and it's working.
So I'm guessing there's cross-pollination between the work you're doing with All for Good and Meat for Good.
Yes, 100%. So we've now got a Speakers for Good program. So again, met some fantastic people who've come through Meat for Good who suddenly become in demand, either from our members or just because of the publicity around events. So we're not a speaker bureau. I wouldn't claim to be one, and I wouldn't like to be one particularly. But if I can offer more work to these guys who've been really kind to us, and by starting with us with Meat for Good, then we will do so. So, again, a local example: Preet Chandy from Derby, Polar Explorer. She just made an attempt on the North Pole solo and unsupported. But before she came to work for Meat for Good, I'd already placed her in 2 speaking events locally, one with a charity, one with Rolls-Royce. And we were fortunate we got Rolls-Royce and Toyota on our doorstep, 2 huge organisations, and Rolls-Royce in particular see huge value in supporting their staff and the leadership and development of their staff through these kind of events. So that part of the business is growing, but again, it's not a focus. It's almost a consequence and a byproduct of some of the other work that we're doing.
So what's the current projects you're working on with All for Good at the moment?
Meat for Good expansion is at the top of the list, trying to understand how we do that without losing sight of the value that we've created here in the Midlands. I say I've just had a golf project with Team GB, which was very live last week, and we've got another event with them in September. I work also for another global golf program called the Icon Series, which took us to Thailand in February, and hopefully is taking us to South Africa in December. And that again is sporting personalities playing golf, basically. But I look after the sort of the charity and the social impact space. So that event is building. It's got huge momentum now. Some amazing personalities, and for example, it's got the richest hole in golf. As well, we've got a $10 million swing. It's called, which is the hole-in-one prize is $10 million, which is mind-blowing. And if somebody wins that, the charitable impact and the social impact of that is just massive, because it's all locked into contractual obligations to give a certain amount of it away straight away to charities and good causes. So that's very exciting. Again, people you meet and the places you go through sport, it's I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. So there's lots of things on the go. We've just done a dinner here in Derby for a local youth mental health charity, and that was basically an event from scratch. Dinner for about 4:20, 4:30, and then a big corporate dinner in Derby, in a brand new arena in Derby, and that's going to be repeated next April. So planning for that has started already. But yeah, lots to keep me busy.
Have you got quite a big team? It sounds like you've got a lot of elements to the
No,
events that you're doing. No,
me,
you
it's
do
just
it
me.
all yourself.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
Well, I mean, I obviously can call on people. So Paul, who
Mm,
was the awards with us, Paul's in with me 50-50 on Meat for Good, but he's got a full-time job. I
mm,
mean, he so All for Good is my full-time job. Paul works for Nottingham Rugby, but Paul was with us last week, for example, so he'll take a day off and come and help me at the golf day down at the for the Olympic golf day last week. So I can bring people in when I need them
mm,
on the day, on the night, or whatever else it is. But we rely on the charities and the partners to provide that back office
mm.
support, really.
Right.
Um, I've never had a desire to grow some or singing or dancing agency or team,
No.
um, because, well, you'll know as well, event work particularly, you have the peaks and the troughs, and you've got to be able to
Mm,
ride those out. And I wouldn't want to do that with responsibility for other people's families, never mind my own. But so no, it's always been me. Um, I think I might have one of my sons knocking on the door soon to see whether there's a job going for him, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
oh, yes, I know that feeling. Um, so let's talk about the Best SME Awards, because you told me on the night it was the first awards you'd ever entered. And I'm just interested what the thought process was behind that. Was it to raise more awareness of Meat for Good, or was it just a bit of validation really for the work that you've been doing, or was it a bit of both?
I think it was a bit of both, but really a little bit of validation for us doing what we're doing, because
Mm,
I think either whoever's hosting the event, whether it's me or Paul, we always do this intro at the beginning saying, look, we're networking, but we're different. If
mm,
you're expecting to come here and pick up your next short-term contract or walk out of here and with an ROI that you can go back to your boss and say, I've justified my membership because I've just got this. This isn't for you. This is about it's personal and business development. And yes, we know we do a good shout section at every event. So talking about the different connections that have been made and different great work that other people are doing. It might be independent work that they're doing, but as long as if they're in the room and they're doing good, we'll shout about it on their behalf. And so it's for us, it was a case of, well, we just wanted a little bit of recognition for the fact that have we got this right? We think we've got it right because the membership's growing and feedback is always fantastic. Um, but at the same time, we'll have, even though, I mean, I think compared to what other people are charging, our membership is great value. I mean, if we broke it down, you're talking about if you had an individual membership, 65 pound per event to listen to the quality of the speakers that we're laying
yeah.
on, and they get fed and they get watered and all the rest of it. It's nothing. It's
Mm,
nothing. But I'm also aware that you're not just paying for being there on the day. It's a cost. It's a cost of your time, and you've got to
mm,
justify where you are versus all the other networking groups that you might want to go to. And so we don't take anything for granted, but at the same time, we wanted just that little bit of validation and recognition that actually you're onto something here. Because I will never chase memberships to death. I don't want to put somebody in the room who doesn't want to be there or can't justify being there. And we've lost some members who've just said, well, yeah, the powers that be have said that £500 a year, or depending on what category they've got, £600 a year. We're going to spend that money somewhere else now. Okay, that's fine.
Mm,
I mean, that's all right. People have to make that judgment call themselves. And I don't want it to sound arrogant, but I don't think we want or need to change the way we're approaching it, because we're doing what we're doing. People are coming back. They're loving every different event. We're still finding quality speakers. 30 events on. You sometimes
mm,
look ahead in the planning and you think, oh, where's event number 4 for next year coming from? But
mm.
then you'll stumble across somebody, or somebody will introduce you to somebody else, and we're we try and work as far ahead as we can, but people's calendars are so complex now,
Mm,
particularly the speakers. That I mean, I've got 3 events lined up now for October, November, and February, but only one of them is absolutely nailed on. I mean,
mm,
the others will drop in within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I've got no doubt, but um, there's a lot of moving parts in terms of
mm,
venue, speaker. Then you can go out to your memberships, and not all of them will be able to make every single event, but that's
mm,
the challenge we've always got. Um, so now the awards were great for us, because it was a real mixed bag in the room. A lot of
mm.
very like-minded people in terms of, with it being SMEs, it wasn't full of the usual brands and all the rest of it. It was people like us who are just doing their thing to the best of their ability, and cracking on, and clearly doing some really good work in their own fields.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Because there are a lot of small businesses out there, and we are the backbone of the actual country, though sometimes
Mm,
that
yeah.
fact is a bit, hidden because
Yeah,
actually,
HMRC and a succession of chancellors might I might argue differently, but anyway.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, we're all doing our thing, and it's nice to recognize. And I think, our judges certainly loved what you were doing. And I recall seeing one of the judges' comments, which was, "This is truly unique, truly a unique networking group." That should be recognized for what it's done. And I think, the judges were definitely impressed with what you've done and what you've put together and the difference you're making out there. Because one of the things that you are encouraging businesses to do is to give back, aren't you?
yeah. It's we'd hope that they would follow us. I mean, it has to be commercially viable, and
Mm.
people have to understand that. But we give 10% of
Mm.
our proceeds, straight back to our 20 charity, which at the moment is the Youth Sport Trust. You see
Hmm.
the connection there for me and Paul going back however many years. Um, but as I say, we've got, I think it's 6 charities who are members now, and
Mm.
as much as we can, we'll give them a shout out. Uh,
Mm.
so that, I don't know if you know of the Baton of Hope,
Hmm.
um, which is a suicide prevention charity that every 2 years has this baton that passes around the country. And Derby pitched for it and became one of the legs last year. And so we laid on an extra event. We created another event purely in support of Baton of Hope. And Clark Carlisle, the footballer, who's now just become chair actually of Mind, the mental health charity, um, he launched Meet for Good for us back in January 2020. He's attempted suicide 5 times now, I think. And so he was just perfect. So we did a 5 year anniversary of Meet for Good special event. Clark came back, and we did it in aid of Baton of Hope. So Claire, who was running the Baton of Hope operation here, she came and sat on stage with us and with Clark, and we had this sort of informal in conversation with debate. And it was the day before the baton came through Derby, and Clark went on the next day and did some more work with them on the actual day itself. And we've done the same for other charities. So the Youth Sport Trust have had a day with us. Um, Bridge the Gap, who were the beneficiaries of the dinner. That dinner came about because two of our members are ambassadors for the charity. So
Hmm.
they've had a huge wave of support that's come on the back of both Meet for Good and the dinner. Um, the Three Pillars Project, which is a prison rehabilitation social justice program through sport, they're involved with us, and so we've dedicated an evening to them. So there's any number of ways that we can raise awareness,
Mm.
help raise some funds. Jason Robinson, the British and Irish Lions rugby player, former rugby league player. He's got his own foundation. So when he came and did an evening with us, we raised some money on the night for his foundation that was in lieu of his fee. He didn't want his fee. He wanted that to go straight to the charity. So, um, yeah, there's many ways that we can oil those wheels to
Mm.
keep the good stuff happening.
And, if businesses are listening to this, what advice can you give them to create meaningful partnerships and get the most really out of sponsoring charities and events and things? I mean, what would you advise people to do?
Passion for the cause has to be the start
Mm,
point.
that's a good point, actually.
Um, I think it's very easy for me to sit here or anybody else to sit here as a charity and say, well, we deserve support because,
Mm,
but everybody has a reason or a need to support their own cause, and I think that the plethora of good causes out there, we can't all be a children in need night, we can't all be comic relief or whatever else it is,
mm,
and it's impossible to compete with some of that. But you can take the mechanics, and if you can find a way of getting that passion, getting it through the funnel
mm,
to create something special and unique, then there's always a way. But it's for me, it's about that initial passion to understand what is the cause and what difference you can make to that cause, and it then needs breaking down into bite-sized chunks, so that if somebody's coming to our events and it's costing them £375 a year or whatever else it is, and they're doing it for charitable reasons, okay, what does that 375 quid get them? And how do
mm,
they know that their input is going to make a difference? If the took the golf day last week, if you took it in really simple terms, £1,000 raised last week would have guaranteed 2 Olympian visits to 2 primary schools, for
mm,
example. So, okay, then you trickle that down, and you're motivating 500 kids in a primary school assembly, getting out on the playground and doing some sport and some physical activity. And if you start to motivate 2 dozen children to do park run next weekend, or to go and play basketball, or to take up curling, or whatever else it is, then you've done your job.
mm,
Clark Carlisle was very open on stage when we did the Baton of Hope event. If I can save the life of one person through this, who isn't going to turn to suicide as their answer, then we've done our job. So I
mm,
think whatever the cause is, breaking that down into how you can genuinely make a difference and leave an impact
mm.
is key for me. Um, that has to be the start point.
Yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice, to be honest. And I tend to look at the charities that I support and have supported. There's always been some kind of personal affiliation there.
There has
It,
to be.
you
Has to
just
be.
you're just drawn to things that you understand and that you can make a difference if you understand it. So yeah,
Yeah, and
really good
it's
advice.
all of our lives have been touched by something.
Mm,
Whether it is cancer, whether it could be suicide, it could whatever it is. And my background is sport, so I'm inevitably drawn to
mm,
how do we, from a preventative point of view, how do we keep our kids happy, healthy, active,
mm,
and having a connection? I mean, sport has got, and getting me on my blowing soapbox now, but sport's got so much to offer
mm,
physically in terms of health and well-being, but also that sense of belonging that you can get
mm,
through sport that so many young people seem to be missing at the moment. I mean, when I talk to Bridge the Gap and the guys who run Bridge the Gap up here in Derby, it, so many young people are just lost. They
mm,
don't. They might suffer from anxiety. They might suffer from more serious mental health conditions. We don't know what their personal circumstances and backgrounds are, but there's no glue. There's no sense of belonging there for them. And I personally think sport has a lot to offer, but it's not going to be the savior for everybody. If you're not
No,
into your
but it
sport,
does. I
yeah,
think both my boys played rugby and right up until they were adults. And I think looking back, it didn't just give them friends and structure, it gave them the ability to understand how to work in a team and all of those elements as
yeah,
well, the social side. But the fitness element was part of it, but there were so many other parts to it that they got from it. that I think sometimes you just have to sort of encourage your children to try different sports until they find one that they like.
Yeah.
Because I always remember my youngest going to football and then the coach coming over and saying to me, "Look, he is built for rugby. Try him at rugby." And rugby was where he found his, love. And
Yeah.
my eldest did play football for quite a long time actually, till he was sort of 10 or 11, and then went into rugby after that. Um, and liked racket sports and other things as well, cricket being one of them. So I think, you know, you just got to let your children try different things, and they'll find something that they love.
Oh, of course they will. Of course
And
they will. Mm.
it's so many sport delivers on so many levels. Um, and I think businesses aligning themselves with sporting teams. I mean, I was director of girls rugby for a few years, going back a long time, but I did that, and to help them raise awareness of rugby for women and trying to get local businesses engaged with the sporting clubs to sponsor shirts and to sponsor events and things like that. And I think sometimes businesses don't realize that they can actually, just for a small amount of money, make quite a big difference to a small local club.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I see it every week when boys play football, their boys play cricket, and have done all the way through. My eldest is 26 now, my youngest is 12, but so I've seen it all in terms of at a
Mm.
club level. But also, I think people are genuinely, unfortunately, waking up to this idea that doing good business is good
Mm,
for business, and I think there is plenty of opportunity for the bigger brands to allow that stuff to filter down, and
definitely.
it's we're seeing it more and more. I mean, it's great. I mean, 20 years ago it was less the case, but genuinely people are looking to create those partnerships that will over a period of time, and that's the trick is to start well, but also give it
Mm.
some sustainability and some longevity, to really allow the difference to be made. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Well, it's been a fantastic chat with you today. You are incredibly inspiring, whether you know it or not, but you are. And we will make sure that Pete's details are in the show notes. So if you want to contact him about any of the things that he's up to, and also to watch the expansion of Meat for Good, because I'm sure that is transferable to London and Manchester as well. It'll
Let's
be
hope so.
interesting to see. So
Yeah.
good luck
Thank you
and
very much, and
well
likewise.
done. Thank
Likewise, good
you.
luck with next year's events and
Thank you.
next year's awards. I'll be watching with interest.
Thank you.
All right.